Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. A'udhu billah shaitan rajim. May God protect us from the cursed one and unnecessary ignorance. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. Rabbi Gfirli. My Lord, forgive me for all the sins that I am conscious and unconscious of. Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. May God guide us to the direct path. May God bless all these lectures and the viewers. Hello, everyone. I have some explaining to do. And I wanted to first contextualize this lecture by saying that you are listening to 1 in 8 billion unique DNAs on the planet Earth. And you're also listening to someone whose eyes you don't have, and the same moment in the space time continuum you don't occupy. And based on this, I think there is a value to this lecture for anybody who has different eyes, for everyone who has different eyes. um, I have been for like a decade. I have been, um, for some reason, in this cosmos, steered toward giving this lecture, giving these lectures. In these lectures, when I give the lectures, I am actually a visual thinker, and I tend to translate my inner cinema externally through words, or I'm externalizing my inner cinematic awareness vocally and verbally. In my previous lectures, I had spoken about this idea I had linked for me. I had seen the parallels to when you look at like how human beings are, they learn language, they learn the alphabet, and then you use the alphabet to in some sense come up with words, and those words have a different meaning than the letters. And then words placed beside one another make sentences, sentences placed beside each other make paragraphs, paragraphs placed beside one another in some sense make pages, and pages make a book, and books make a library, and a library guides man. What I'm trying to say is, for example, letters are a lesser technology, yet we as a higher technology use them. Now, anyways, aside from that point, I'm pretty much saying we have an alphabet. And for me, I began becoming fascinated that could there be an alphabet of human values, and these human values don't change, but so many, like every human being that lives in some sense is creating a new word out of those letters, out of those values. So I thought that what are their core values? Because in previous lectures and pretty much most of the lectures, you hear me talking about an advanced civilization, and technically you're listening to a Muslim futurist. I say Muslim because I have a conclusion on truth, and I say a futurist because I have a conclusion on humanity. Not a finalization, a sort of conclusion to its scenario. So it occurred to me that there's an alphabet, and I was like, what about an alphabet to human values? You can even take this idea and create an alphabet for human emotions, an alphabet for, I don't know, anything. It's sort of what we do with language. We give signals, symbols, significant meaning. So if you look at the evolution of human consciousness was the difference between humans and other lesser beings, lesser animals, is that we're aware that we're aware. And it's like we are aware that we're separate from the world physically, and we're also aware how the idea of us is separate from our physical body. And we cannot ignore how meaning is an internal event and matter is an external event. And rather than trying to think of humanity that it is based, is it internal, is it external, is it physical, is it non-physical, you should think of it that it's an event at its core. So something is happening here, and the consciousness emerged through dualism, but then it did something very strange. Man's mind created number theory and created alphabet theory. You don't understand what that means. That means human beings were not just able to tell themselves apart from the world, were not able to tell themselves separate from their shadow, to tell themselves separate from their reflection, to tell themselves apart from other beings, separate from other beings. They managed to, in some sense, separate their idea of themselves from their body. And this was unavoidable because the human beings back in the day would have dreams and they would be like, this isn't real, but why are we seeing it? And that means if you kind of look at it, what does a dream and your imagination have in common? If I tell you, imagine, you're flying in the air, and now if you dreamed you were flying in the air, they would be both acts capable of your mind. Sometimes, whether my dreams are good or bad, to be honest, I haven't dreamed in a while. But I'm trying to say that the consciousness started from being like, yo man, I'm separate from this earth. Then yo man, I'm aware of my body. And then yo man, I can close my eyes, envision what tomorrow would look like, or remember yesterday as abstract events, and which will influence my decision now. The result of consciousness is not just from physical input, physical dynamic input. There's dynamic non-physical input. That means I can visualize an apple behind my eyes or even keep my eyes open, but I can't eat that apple. But out in front of your eyes, you can eat that apple. You can eat an apple, you know? So, anyways, I'm trying to say in the same way, look at how fascinating it was that human consciousness started from a basic duality. It reached the sophistication of the alphabet to be like, okay, all these symbols have their own separate values, and it's like 26 symbols are going to, in some sense, oh my god, it's like all of human knowledge, for people who speak English, is dependent on 26 symbols, these 26 sounds and symbols. For me, it's like letters are a citizen of something that words aren't. Words are a citizen of something letters can never be, in the sense that it's a difference in awareness. For me, when I see a letter, it's like I'm seeing something fundamental. When I see, like, when I read paragraphs in a book, that's in some sense, it's as if, what I'm okay, let me tell you what it is. It's very common sense. If you zoom in on it, which means concentrate, if you zoom in on it, you'll kind of see, you'll kind of see that what language is trying to do is trying to replicate reality. Language is trying to reform reality, its meaning. That means it's very fascinating that when you look at an object, you don't need to really consider time. You're just seeing something in front of you. But when you wonder about the meaning of an object, because it is a comparison to previous similar values, there's a sort of referential thing going on in the human brain system. I just want to tell you that the awareness to the alphabet and how 26 letters have led to how many words? Let me look this up. How many words are there in the dictionary currently? And guys, the number can never be accurate because there's words in other languages that, if they were just to, like, people haven't even conceptualized to even bring into the English language, but they can. So those words technically exist. Okay, it says total number of words in the English language. Oxford English Dictionary includes about 600,000 words, including obsolete, dialectical, and technical terms. Merriam-Webster includes around 470,000 words, focusing more on current standard usage. And how many human beings right now, English speaking people, how many words do they normally use? It says most native speakers use between 20,000 to 35,000 words actively. The average vocabulary of a university educated native speaker is estimated at 40,000 to 60,000 words, passive plus active. Uh, Fun fact, the OED adds hundreds of new words every year. English remains the largest language by word count due to its global use, flexibility, and borrowing from other languages. There we go, it says it here too. So, guys, do you know what this means? It means 26 letters led to 600,000 words and growing. So to me, it's very fascinating that human beings are acting so basic, but the foundation of their complexity was based on its basic code. But that basic code could have had a different probability. I am saying we can take the knowledge of civilization and using that by bringing reducing it into its core elements, reassemble the elements. Now, this doesn't mean we should invade certain aspects of nature as well. You know, we're not just here to, invent ourselves as machines. They're like, yo, man, the inventors back in the day, they would invent machines external to themselves, but the inventors nowadays are the machines. So 26 brave warriors, okay, 26 letters. They were not only confident in themselves, but they believed in their potential, and now there is 600,000 words. I think it's the same thing with DNA. I think DNA is doing the same thing, that there was a sort of alphabet. So, anyways, I'm trying to take your attention to, it was like the human mind had an ability to separate 26 different shapes, sounds, and symbols, and use that to, in some sense, create a language that has been archiving and immortalizing our uh, uh, inner visions, beyond our lifetime. So, if we could somehow figure out the alphabet of human values, how many new words could we create? And I'm gonna ask AI this. Throughout the lifetime of the human being, how many different values are they aware of before they die on average? I just want to see what conceptual answer it gives. So check this out. AI says estimated number of values a human is consciously aware of in a lifetime. There's no fixed number published in psychology or philosophy, but we can draw from academic sources and behavior studies to estimate. Core recognized value systems, psychology and sociology, in brackets. Researchers like Shalom Schwartz, in brackets, theory of basic human values, have identified 10 to 19 basic universal human values, such as benevolence, security, power, achievement, freedom, tradition. These are core motivational domains that all humans recognize in some form. I mean, we can. I know. In my inner realms, I can see a way to simplify it for you guys. What the whole value game the species is playing is, but I want to tell you, all these values are based on how the human being is perceiving their current reality. Okay, but I think these are, to some degree. I mean, the list is interesting. So, anyways, here it says expandable vocabulary of values in human life, various educational, spiritual, cultural systems. Okay, let me see, what am I reading? Okay, okay, okay. No, no, no. This is good. Hold on, guys. This is good. Let me read this. So it says expanded vocabulary of values in human life. Various educational, spiritual, and cultural systems introduce broader value vocabularies. A comprehensive list from ethics, leadership, and character education includes around 200 to 300 distinct value terms. Example: honesty, adaptability, joy, sacrifice, etc. Many corporate or moral development programs work from lists of 50 to 150 values. A realistic estimate of how many a person consciously encounters and understands across a lifetime. So, okay, here, this is what I was looking for. So, AI says level. Excuse me. Daily values lived. So it says estimated 10 to 30. It says estimate consciously aware of. So we're considering that the average human being, every day they're living in accordance to being aware of 10 to up to 30 values throughout the day. Okay, I think it's far more less, guys. I think people are so lazy nowadays, it's probably 10, or 10 is like an achievement, do you know? But anyways, here it says 10 to 30 values, okay, consciously aware of. Recognized discussed values 100 to 150. Yeah, that makes sense. It's probably more, I think. Heard or exposed to 200 to 300 values. Actually, no, no, no. Hold on, hold on. These are values, not concepts. All right, so let me put myself in the shoes of what AI is saying here. Okay, heard or exposed to 200, 300 distinct values. I think that's, I don't know, unless right now on Earth, there's some people experiencing like 1,000, like 2,000 values or something. You know what I mean? But I think the average human being is not, is, you see, the simulation is not where you physically are. The simulation is how you've accepted your mental context, the context to your meaning, the meaning your mind forges. Here it says, it continues, these value AI says these values are introduced via parenting, schooling, religion, media, life experiences. Example, grief teaches resilience or forgiveness. What affects this number? Educational level, exposure to abstract thought, cultural diversity, different societies emphasize different values, language fluency, more words equal more conceptual distinction, spiritual or philosophical practice. Example, Sufism or Stoicism expands more vocabulary. Guys, let me tell you the issue with spirituality. Like, let me tell you, if your body and mind wanted to know, and you're like, it's like, what is that secret that God knows that man doesn't? And if you bask in that possibilities awareness, at some point you're going to begin to realize, like, the human being is limited. The sense of growing in this life is like endless patches, endless updates. Like, we got to be careful. The future generations, far future generations, they might be getting endless patches, you know, in their minds and also on their skins, based on how much technology is connecting to the biology. We got to be very careful. Your body should not be intervened. Your body is like a kingdom, and your soul as a king must defend this kingdom. Okay, but you must also realize what is the potential of the conscious ability of man. And pretty much, I think what every person thinks is cool, that means universally everybody would agree with me that the idea of genius is like genius. So what I'm saying is, like, I just want you for a moment be like, yo man, I'm living in this simulated life of mine with my own story I'm overlaying upon it, my own meaning I'm overlaying upon it. But wait a minute, there's the concept of genius, there is the awareness to the incredible, there is the presence of the advanced. All right. excuse me, to continue. Ladies and gentlemen, where we're going as a human species is a fascinating direction. And every instance of life ties together as if they've been designed to be collectively acknowledged by a higher system administration. Let us understand that we are the human beings that are alive now, and with that comes a responsibility to wonder about the true depths of our awareness to reality. Do not fear the edge of the world, in some sense, fear the world that you never could. How would I say it? It's like, don't fear the edge of the world, fear never knowing the edge of the world. So, where am I going with this, guys? Something you don't know is I wrote it in the title. It, guys, I've made a very strange decision because I'm like giving a lot of talks. I gotta kind of stay true to somehow indicators in the future. And pretty much what happens is after you're kind of bored with physicality, you reach a point of realizing it's a different angular shift in perception. But you can think through anything as anything with anything. Whatever is observable to you can be utilized by your mind to, in some sense, create internal probability models. Do you know what that means? That means one moment of life has one way of meaning externally. It could be interpreted in so many ways. Sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I'm scrolling through all the different ways I can just see meaning to my day. You know, it's honestly endless. It's fascinating. In front of our eyes, we're finite. Like the body is dealing with a finite game, the mind is dealing with an infinite game, and the soul is the awareness to how both these games are being its life somehow. So, anyways, where am I going with this? The alphabet of human values. To zoom in on it, we need now, as a human being alive in 2025, folks, this is what's up. The way I'm going to simplify this lecture here right now is simply through the realization of what we must let go. When we talk about an alphabet of human values, we're talking about something that is way more sophisticated than the linguistic alphabet. I want you to treat yourself as an awareness to simulations in life. They tell you to try to be real. They're like, yo, man, be real, and you're trying to be real in a simulated world and you're wondering why ethics is all messed up, you know? So, we as human beings, Mr. Within, I guess the Mr. Withinian approach, I'm trying to kind of establish a sort of identity in history, I guess. um, I guess the Mr. Withinian archetypal view It's like life is boring until you notice the future. The alphabet of human values is based on how the human species extracts perception and behaves in influence of that. I believe that we are creatures that our bodies were born in the world, but our minds were found in the world. That means my body was born, but my consciousness arrived. The possible values, that means it's like a situation, something is happening. We've opened our eyes to this gigantic, colossal, unknown event, and we, as the mind, one of them, strangely, oddly, as lazy, silly as we are also like one of the strangely most advanced beings that is able to notice what's going on. And do not take your intelligence for granted, and do not let society render you in accordance to your past experiences. Find yourself free in an instant. That's the only type of freedom. You're either instantly free or not. You could even call it like the enlightenment pulse. You know, every like in 365 days, maybe three of those days, not three probably, maybe like 30 of those days, you know, or 12 of those days, like the enlightenment pulse was there. If right now I think there were like there was an advance, if if there was any sort of the most advanced research technology out there in the world, it would probably be wondering about this, the topic of this lecture. What is the alphabet of human values, and how do human beings using this alphabet make so many different lives out of it? Like, I'm not gonna lie, free will means we can cherry pick, we can select. That's what free will means. But what we're selecting from is not was not up to our choice, though. That's the strange thing about it. We are as free as we are aware. That means there is that all knowledge roots back to the deep mystery. The deep mystery is like attend your simulation consciously. Oh, humanity, you're not just alive once. You have entered this world room to, in some sense, when I ask the question, what's the greatest thing I can do, my mind soon asks the question, what is the greatest thing my species can do? And then my truly, like, I wondered, what is that core thing everybody's being drawn to? And I realized, because we have to deal with the future, the only outcome of it can be greatness itself. It is as if the spirit of greatness is upon us, because we have accessed the future, because behind our eyes the world is far more ahead than in front of our eyes. And we, every unique DNA, is an innovator of humanity. You're all ambassadors of the human species. You just don't identify with it because you're culturally trapped. You're trapped by your own self. That means I'm saying, like, yo man, everybody's trapped on earth. People are like, whoa, what do you mean, Mr. Within? What do you mean everybody's trapped? And I'll be like, no, 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 no. Everybody is trapping themselves in the world. Context shift. It's like, if you put a box on your head, you can't blame the world for being cruel. I think that's probably one of the greatest ethical statements that has ever been spoken. You see, it's like they're like, yo man, how should I live on earth? They're like, relax, just be yourself. And when the notion of self dawns upon you, you're like, whoa man, I have access to past notions of self. I have access to right now looking at my present and wondering about all the different futuristic probabilities. That means right now my mind has access to endless archives of myself. Iron Man suit, I could visualize myself one of the first being the first human being, kind of like negotiating with AI. Do you know what I mean? Probably not negotiating, just comprehending, I guess. For me, the human psychology is not just a reaction to the content in the space; it's a reaction to the space itself. In other words, the recognition that life is temporary, recognition that why have these 8 billion candles been lit in a dark cosmos, and why is the earth exactly tilted in a specific angle? Do you know, is there exactly specific distance from the earth and the sun, and in some sense the water levels are all right? To be honest, it's kind of like conditions that have been kept, that we're like, okay man, just for the amount of effort that has been taken to develop this simulation, let's see what it's about. When you know what I mean? Let me tell you why the ego truly wonder about the future. Your ego is meaningless. Imagine you had such an imagine a narcissist, somebody who can't see beyond their own world. Imagine a narcissist goes is like the first human being going to the planet, and they're like, okay, narcissist, tell us, like, give us feedback of what that planet looks like. And the narcissist just in some sense, like, how do the narcissist is going to be like, I don't see anything here, nothing's valuable here, nothing here I can understand, there's nothing here on this planet. And the people back at the station are like, yo man, just describe what you're seeing. And the guy's like, I don't care about it, man. Do you know what I mean? Everything's centering about his own limited reality. That's the issue with the ego. The ego is capable, yes, but at the same time, it's a limited technology. Now, if you ask what's a greater way to live, there's different approaches, but I think the ultimate approach is to just freak out, honestly, as a being, freak out, like truly be sincere and freak out about the fact that if we're all in a box, what's outside of the box? In other words, the only, for why am I Muslim? Because it's the only tradition saying that the original source of reality cannot have any equivalent. The simulation cannot be the original. Even if, let's say, from a perspective, God came and in some sense changed the origin, entered the simulation and lived in the simulation, do you know, as an archetype of the human, an archetype. It's like this inside the simulation, it's defined as everything is simulated. If the divine intervenes in the simulation, God, we are not at that high of a station to make acknowledge a higher power. I do honor the this reality where everything is returning to, and people are afraid of death rather than realizing the depth in what life was. For me, I when I look at the human species, I see an absence of honor. I some sense they've given up on, like, imagine there's these giants, these scrapers, these giant robots, you know, random giant robots are destroying skyscrapers, and people are like, yeah, man, I'm done trying to care for society. I'm done trying to care for humanity. You know, at some point you'll see you cannot avoid the chaos. You can also not avoid how advanced your order can be. This does not mean a psychological feeling like you're in command. This means that you're inside a system. The value of the system is neither specific or neither general, and the human being is situated in a specific situation. It's kind of like, yo, man, what are we looking at? It's like, yo, I see a battlefield. Okay, what do you see on the battlefield? I see 8 billion soldiers. Okay, what do the 8 billion soldiers look like? They're all dressed in the same uniform. What does their uniform look like? It's the human's design. There's a reason you're a human being right now. You're not some, like, abstract energy of consciousness. Like, consciousness just energy. You're in this human form for a reason. And so it's like wondering about what 8 billion beings should do on earth is equivalent to being like 8 billion human beings. When you look in the mirror, you see your human design, and our species is like we're all in the human uniform. We're all armored, and we are all wearing human armor right now. Okay. And in some sense, the question is, when we wonder about what to do in this random world, like, this is pretty much the human, I think, comprehension of, like, the human situation, right? That we are in a place we don't understand, and we're trying to use methods to understand it. And then we're realizing some of the methods are all like our it's like, since our identity was created by us, every knowledge that is found adjusting to that identity, it's like, how do I say it? It's like, it doesn't matter how many infinite simulations you see to an empty inside an empty room. On some level, it is always an empty room. But the question is, why is there anything happening in the room? It is the here how you're an advanced biological organism. Like, how do I say it? What is it, like 4.5 billion years? 4.54 billion years? Like, you've been in a long time here, and you as a human being are like, yo, man, did I care about the world? And you just go into your cave, sort of cooped up kind of cave like civilization right now. You understand? We're living in some sort of civilization. Everybody in their own cave, organizedly decided. It's like organized caves. Okay, it's technically like we've been living in cubes for years. In my sci-fi novels, in the future, there's a law that doesn't allow anything to look cubic or rectangular. Any architecture that's cubic and rectangular is like, not truly advanced. The advanced considers all that there is now and wonders about beyond it. It's the same urge that you've wondered, like, why are you here? And it's all about what values you're seeking. That means beyond, like, it's like I'm talking about I'm talking about how whatever kind of what you have formed yourself in your mind, like a sentence. Your whole life is like, your character in a story is like how your whole life can turn into a sentence. And now I'm saying, if you understand all those simultaneously words, and all those words are simultaneously letters, and once you understand it all started from the letters, you wonder about what values Are you comprehending out of reality? And let me tell you, the sign of true advancement is being fascinated by what you don't know and what you can't see, more than just being like, yo, this is what I see, you know? So what I'm trying to say is that the unknown, it's like this, it's this unknown event, world event that's happening. We're like, okay, I'm here somehow. And how do we truly structure our value system as a being in this world? And I have come to the conclusion that if you treat yourself as the higher power, you're going to destroy yourself in the simulation. So that's, I would say, don't do that, because you're existing as a simulated being. We want to be honest here. Okay, so a simulated being, if it thinks it's the higher power, if it worships itself, that's my view. It's a mistake. If somebody's like, yo man, okay, I'm not going to worship myself, I'm going to worship that other person, and you're like, wait a minute, that's also a mistake. Why? Because any form in this world is of a simulated nature. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like level one is not level two. So I'm saying that if you worship form, that's an error. God is beyond our fathoming. In the same way, if somebody was giving if a politician was giving us, could only know one wonder why this shadow had appeared. So imagine the difference of intelligence of ants and a politician. Now wonder about to what magnitude we are inferior to the higher power. That it's not about anymore having the species all go into a utopic superiority complex verified reality. It's like, that's freaking weird. You know, it's like what we want to do is be like, okay, every person right now that looks at life, yes, granted, you're a member of the human species, you're accessing a view that nobody else has, but we're also in front of our eyes, in the same place, behind our eyes, everybody's in their own private room, in their own private room of being. So, where I'm going with this is any person at any point in life can wonder about, okay, this life is an event. And if I choose for it to be real, it has to be engageable. That's one of the, I think, signs of reality. Do you know? That it's not just like a photograph, it's not like just a statue, it's not like everything's some still thing. Everything is changing, but it's changing at different speeds, and therefore there's different realities emerging all the time. It's just, think of it this way: a person's reality is like saying, "Yo, man, that's a viewpoint." How many viewpoints there are? There could be endless. There could be even endlessly extracted. We could just set up a bunch of AIs, be like endlessly extract viewpoints. You know. And I'm telling you, right now, it's such a bizarre situation. If somebody says, like Mr. Within, do you think AI should take all human jobs? I'm like, immediately. And people are going to be like, Mr. Within, what's going to happen then? Do you know? Is that the end of the world? And I'll be like, no, because the notion of money is the meaning we give to an event. I want to make I'm saying if all human jobs are going to go away, most likely, just like how in like this video game I play, sometimes multiplayer video game called League of Legends. Okay, in that, the moment you start that game, right, immediately from the moment your character's getting gold every second of the game is like one gold being added. And I thought, like, yo man, that's going to be the protocol most likely, when every person suddenly has no longer physical labor to do. And it's kind of like imagine civilization suddenly became so advanced that like civilization itself was like, all right, human beings, I want you guys to go work on your health, and I want you guys to go and work on making the big decisions. Meanwhile, I'll handle all this stuff, and you guys are getting paid by the second in all of your existential bank accounts, let's say. Let's say there's this bank in the future that comes, it's just called existence. That would be a badass bank. You know, I'm claiming that in my sci-fi, for my sci-fi. But I'm saying it's very fascinating. I mean, there's nothing really, to be honest. The world is just infinite geometry, infinitely geometry, like changing all the time. To be honest, somebody's like, "Yo, man, are you an emotional person?" I'll be like, "Yeah, but it's so like nanosecond. Like I don't know how to say it. It's I feel happy in a nanosecond." And they're like, "What are you doing about it?" He's like, "I'm trying to feel happiness in every nanosecond." Can you imagine the person's like, "I'm so emotionally advanced that I could feel pain in every, again, nanosecond, every second of." Guys, I'm telling you, reality is pretty much your mind. You're placing, you're giving meaning to the artwork you're seeing, but the artwork is your whole life. It's existence itself. They're like, "Yo, man, do you need to pay to go to an art gallery?" I'm like, "No, man, everything in existence is art. It's just the art is really," and it's the same thing for value in an economy. Right now, what the hell's going on? Everybody's using the internet instead of to advance human knowledge, and we set the whole species into a giant research project initiative, right? And like, because you don't understand the challenges ahead of man are not ones where we just physically have to do stuff. We have to, in some sense, expand the horizons of the human value system. And we have to, in some sense, wonder about, okay, what current alphabet of human values are we functioning under? And if we had an ability to see it all again, what new alphabet would there be? For me, I let me tell you something I realized about fear. One of the greatest things I've heard, okay? One of also the craziest things I've heard. Somebody was saying this. I don't know how accurate it is, but it was the message. Like there was an implication to it that it didn't matter how accurate it was. But I'll tell you what it is. They say pretty much when there's like a tornado or something, when there's a storm coming, right? Like thunderstorm, something like that. The cows run away from it. That means their psychology looks at something that's happening, and they're like, "Okay, I can't deal with this," and they run away. But the buffalo has such an ego. The buffalo's like, the storm, the sky is like trying to, like, claim territory. I'm gonna run towards it, and directly to its fear. For me, I don't have children, but if I did, I would teach them to combat fear instantly. Fear is something where it's like, for an expert swordsman, it's a single strike. For like a samurai facing like 100 ninjas, it could be like one spin. I don't know. I mean, 100 ninjas probably not. But I think as I'm giving the lectures, the viewers are constantly trying to type something, but then I go on to the next idea. Yeah. Anyways, guys, where am I going with this? An alphabet of human values. Okay. Now, I I said at some point, I didn't really dive into it, but treat life as if like you want to wonder about not how to be real, how to be unreal. This doesn't mean metaphysical. I just mean that we have to wonder where we're extracting the values to our life from. That's what is your core central value. What's your principal universal philosophy? That means it's like sometimes a person can act like something but not truly believe in it. So what is it that continuously pulls through, that the person endures? So it's kind of like, think of it this way: every day you wake up, you have access to, um, you know, a list of options of actions you can do as a being. Now the next question is, okay, you this means that you also have, because these actions will have consequences. In some sense, we're like, okay, so we have, in some sense, a list of different values to choose from. And it's very fascinating that it's after some point of kind of controlling your own self for a while, you're going to be like, "Yo, man, is my consciousness just meant on just zooming in on my improvement, or is there a greater event in life that humanity is destined for. Right now, why is there, they say that two human beings, like person A and person B, cannot get into any sort of relationship if they don't have the same values? Right now, why is there war on the planet? Because people have different values. And now we are like, okay, we can't really change their values because their values are sacred to them, but we can in some sense completely untouch the old world. That means, how do we stop the modern world from sinning against the in what the old world thinks? I've wondered about this. And the solution is to not touch the past. In the same way, museums have this thing where they say, don't touch what's there. Okay? It's the notion of let's say ancient relics being not just structures but being values. I'm telling you, when you like, just like how Neo in the Matrix saw everything like code, I'm saying you, as whatever archetype of an entity you're being, you can just look at life and you can suddenly see this vast space where endless values can be extracted from. You could look at any object and visualize variations to it. If I tell you, remember, like, remember like what you wore, let's say, remember what you ate yesterday, okay? Like, remember what you ate for lunch, right? You, yesterday doesn't freaking exist anymore, yet you are remembering that as an event of, as the present event of your mind. I don't know, guys. I try to explain that to the best of my ability, but I think where all of this is going is being like, okay, what is the alphabet of human values? What is the approach in the far future? What sort of global councils will emerge, as in some sense, those who watch over the species? You don't understand. Right now, it's like Neo slowly waking up from the Matrix and realizing that once one is honest, truth appears. And when you're honest with reality, you're honest with what you don't know and what you know. And at some point, your mind can visualize what your species doesn't know and then what your species can know. Yeah, I don't know how to say it. For me, this is kind of like, I guess, the dawn and dusk of my mind, where the future is bright and the past is dark. And as just, a soul in this moment, I truly wonder, all right, what's going to happen to all of this? I know the long term answer. I know I have the long term answer because I'm Muslim. The long term answer is the world, the sky will crack and the world will return. It's a simulation. It's all going to return to the original because there's nowhere else for a temporary simulation to go. It is the return of awareness. It is the remembrance of the original memory where the creator created its creation. And as an advanced human being, there will come a time where you will wander so far into the future that after some point you will wonder who you are anymore. That means when you can envision advanced civilizations in your mind and zoom into them and wonder about what emotions you would have if you were in a flying car right now, right? Or would I even get paranoid in space? Like, the mind can wonder about that. I can extract the feeling, but the feeling is from an inner advanced probability to the current human reality. We are way more advanced than we, believe it or not, know ourselves to be. Now, what is the whole game about? If somebody says, one of the main questions is, excuse me, guys. One of the main questions in life is, what are we all doing here? That question, what are we all doing here, is pretty much the question of what is the ultimate value, where is the ultimate direction of attention. I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody's like this, but when I wake up and if somebody's like, how much of your attention is going to what about human life? I'll be like, the amount of energy and attention it takes to be a human and to communicate in human society, it is like maybe 60% of my energy. I don't know how to say it. Like, to truly be human is a very energetic thing, and of course it depends on the energy of the person. But I'm saying, like, for me, there is, because to me to be a human is to honor the ultimate human value. And for me, when I ask myself, okay, I've been having 12,000 new days on this earth, just waking up every day, oh my God, another new day, oh, a new day, 12,000 times. And at some point, the human being is like, all right, what's going on? What's going on here? And so my consciousness has gone through that. This is post me talking. First flight, I realized this, that I realized kinda like everything I thought I truly was wrong. It's like everything I thought I was truly wrong. And I have it's like the wisdom of truly looking at what's going on is realizing man's limitation, and the notion of means there is that which is superior. So we should not be afraid if there's superior beings than us. There's nothing to fear. Because to be honest, it's like saying, yo, man, a candle that's lit, what does it has is, was there anyone in the room? Of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one and only, that beyond any simulated form that can act like truth. You don't understand the power of God. If somebody's like Mr. Within, is divinity more cooler than for you, or is, in some sense, magic more cooler than you? Like, magic died the day the prophets point to the one and only, beyond any form in the realm. Worship a changing world when the changeless is watching. And so it's suddenly realizing that you are present in an intelligent system. Now, I don't want to say you're inside an intelligent mind of a higher being, even though it kind of appears that way when says, "I whatever God commands, it just comes to existence." In theology, pretty question of the alphabet of human values wonders about these 26 letters in the alphabet need a leader. And out of all the geometry and all of the shapes, why have the 26 letters of the alphabet chosen the letter A to be the first to acknowledge the human consciousness? I'm trying to be poetic here. I'm trying to say, what is the leading value to all awareness to a world? And the conclusion is, this is the best way I can explain it. We're inside an existential system right now. We are an existential user and player in this existential system. And this existential system is simulated in nature by the mere fact that it used to not exist and it now exists. And even if you ask the question of infinity, what birthed infinity? The question can go deep. But I'm saying that the whole point of it is, you're right now inside an existential system that you're experiencing in an unknown way. Excuse me. All right, to continue. Guys, I'm pretty wondering about, there's 8 billion human beings. They need to have the same values to, in some sense, come into the same realities of agreement. And from those realities of agreement, start guarding their species from the ignorance of itself. I don't know. I have no clue what it's to be someone in ancient Greece. But they had this saying where they say the ancient Greeks would say to tame the savageness of man and make gentle the life of genius blooms in gentleness. To rise beyond the gravity, wonder about that if our body is a life force, where is this life force truly going, and what is it centralizing its value as its main value? And for me, it used to be the unknown, but then I realized the unknown is the simulation of the known. The the original state of being God. That's the original value. The original value is that not only is there a higher value, a higher ideal, that higher truth alone as itself was, and then in some sense it created creation, and in a scenario of this unknown divine history, like I have no clue, like I don't think anyone can know, but it's like I don't know how long creation had existed before Adam and Eve theologically fell. So what I'm trying to tell you is that it's as if there's this higher power, it's having a higher relationship with a higher being. Then it creates this most advanced creation, and then it advanced creation to, in some, it commands exists, and it imbues it with its spirit, you know in a strange manner, as if we're spirits of God. We're not the soul of God, but we're the spirit of God. I think that's a lovely statement. We are the spirit of God. So what unites all religions? They all acknowledge a truth beyond form. In some sense, all creation praises. It's another way of saying intelligent, conscious, in all conscious intelligence is a simulated event. Original. It's as if, like, what's the sun? They're all attracted to the original. All the simulated are attracted to the original. And it's like wondering about what is behind our eyes. The sun behind your eyes is the higher power. The higher power is untouchable, but it can be felt once you realize that your limitations are a blessing because they are showing you what else can happen. I am telling you, there will come a day. This is, I think, some hidden aim. Like, yo, man, I can't know how advanced I am. Everybody else is not advanced, and we're not in an advanced civilization. Guys, it keeps disconnecting, but I'll say it again. It's like I can't most advanced self if I'm not in a world that is the most advanced civilization with everybody's most advanced self. So I have to make how advanced I am. That's the only way. I let's say right now I just try to go into the mountains and just advance my like, like I've thought about this, but I'm like, nah, man. It's like it's too heavy. In the sense of like going into complete solitude and seclusion, like a video game where you press pause on and then you realize it's not an archetype, and then you think it means to be a non-archetypal being your whole life, and that's what it means spiritual. But no, that's the ego's scapegoat. It's the ego's scapegoat. You must realize that the truest value in this world is far superior to an object, far superior to a subject. It is far superior to a noun, far superior to a verb of everything we're aware of. And I'll be like, you are cosmic geometry that had never existed before until now. In Islam, with the Holy Quran, I treat as source. I, there came a moment in my life where it became very clear. It's kind of being like, yo, man, I'm alive, like for some time in this world. And what was the greatest thing I could have done in this world room? Left it. And in some sense, it's the deeper. It's like, what's the greatest thing I could have done? What's the greatest way? It's like saying, what would have the most advanced version of me look like? And then it's wondering what would the most advanced version of your species look like, and then wondering what would the most advanced version of the relationship of your species with the world be like, and then wondering about what is the most advanced relationship of everything in the world, which is being considered as a simulation with its original context. You see, the reason a lot of people can't comprehend metaphysics is because, how would I say it? They don't understand. It's the transition of a concept's realization that it is aware of the context. Man being aware of God is like a concept becoming aware of the context. And the context is very simple. There was the original, and now there's something that comes and goes. To be honest, we are not, like, even sure we are. It's like our bodies are born in the world, but our minds are visiting the world. And how are our minds visiting the world? Because there is an awareness watching both the body and mind, and every object and subject that you've ever identified with change over time. For the sake of how advanced the future can be, I mean, it's they're like, yo, man, what are we alive for? It's like the future is going to be advanced. Like that's enough to be alive, to care for how advanced we can be. And advanced doesn't mean like technological machines. That's just one branch of this. To be advanced means to be advanced in all dimensions. That means it's like you're trying to. It's like if right now you wanted to try to be an advanced being, all you had to do was to get rid of your blind spots as much as you can. And as you get rid of your blind spots, your awareness recontextualizes reality. So to be honest, it's not like, yo, man, that person has a type of knowledge, that person has a type of knowledge. What do you mean by that? People have knowledge. In some sense, we're all in a situation. We're all in a world scenario, and our conscious response to the scenario is, in some sense, how we wonder what the true values of reality. And so I not only believe that there is already an alphabet, it's like right now I treat it as civilization 1.0. So civilization 1.0 has an alphabet of excuse me values, and civilization 2.0 we have access to infinite variations. You see, ultimately the human species will realize, they're like, yo man, what's the point of all this research? It's like to realize that the conclusion is about how we choose to walk into the future. I think it's all that. It's, to me, it's like all of humanity is just a species looking at an incomprehensible situation, and they're like, okay, all that we are is expected of us to is to do the best we can. But in order to do the best we can, it means we have to apply this notion of the best to in some sense try to consider what are the best views to reality. Like I'm gonna ask ChatGPT this: what are the best and most advanced views on reality? Guys, let's check this out. So I asked ChatGPT 4.0, what are the best and most advanced views on reality? Wait, let me say something else. Okay, guys, check this out. Okay, guys, so I asked ChatGPT to what are the best and most advanced views on reality. I'm just gonna read. It's interesting to know. So, anyways, it says physicalism, scientific realism. In quotations, reality is the totality of physical matter and energy governed by natural laws. So the concepts is in some sense physical matter being energy, you know? So reality is the totality of everything that is being matter that is also being energy, and then context is it's being governed by natural law. That's physicalism for you. Core idea, only what can be measured is real, matter, energy, space, time, these are the bedrock. It's like, can you imagine, somebody trying to get emotional counseling from someone who just believes in physicalism? And yo, man, if I can't measure your emotions, I can't give a shit. Sorry, I shouldn't be rude. Excuse me. I'm being playful, guys. We're views upon views, trying to find the greatest view, which is beyond all this. So it says here, core idea. I read that. Support physics, neuroscience, biology, advanced variation, quantum field theory. Reality is a vast network of interacting fields. Limitation, can't fully explain consciousness or qualia. Two, quantum ontologies. In quotations, reality is probabilistic, observer linked, and fundamentally uncertain. Core idea, at the quantum level, particles don't exist in one state until observed. So quantum physicists, they're like, yeah, man, we don't know what's going on. Reality. So quantum ontologies, ontology is the study of being. Reality is probabilistic, observer linked, and fundamentally uncertain. Core idea, at the exist in one state until observed. Do you know what that means? That means like yeah. I mean, obviously we're inputting the meaning in our findings. Key views, many worlds interpretation. In brackets, Everett, Everett. Um, events exist in parallel universes. Cubism, quantum Bayesianism, reality is a personal probabilistic belief system. updated via experience. Implication: reality isn't fixed, it's shaped by observation. Then you have the third, these are like AI's opinion of the most advanced views. Panpsychism, in quotations: consciousness is a fundamental property of the universe. I don't believe that. Core idea: all matter has some. Sorry, guys, I'm just trying to personalize the lecture, I guess. Core idea: all matter has some form of consciousness or experience. Modern advocates: Philip Goff, Galen Strawson. Why Advance attempts to explain the hard problem of consciousness, why anything feels like anything from the inside. Implication: atoms may be proto conscious, the universe may feel something. Yo, panpsychists are like pretty much like emotional beings just advancing. Like, they're like, everything can feel what I feel. But I gotta say, to be honest, emotions are important, but I think that we should treat them more the emotions. I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna keep going. Fourth, simulation hypothesis. There we go. There we go, guys. So it says in quotations, reality is computational, perhaps a simulation of intelligence. I don't know if you guys can hear the slow hand claps, but core idea: if it's possible to simulate a universe, we don't know we're in base reality, the odds favor that we're in a simulation. I mean, that's not just the reason, it's just because we start and we end. We simulate it. Okay, advanced version. The substrate of reality may be information, not matter. Uh, Stuff. Guys, you got to treat it this way, that the simulation is by such advanced intelligence that the information can never be processed. So what the simulation hypothesis is saying, if the substrate of reality may be information, even though everything could be hidden code, or for a Muslim, everything is God's will. Even the definition of the soul is that it's the secret of God, and it is also the amr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the command of the system admin. Support. Quantum mechanics resembles computation. Planck length resembles pixel size. Musk. I mean, guys, religion pretty much says it's a simulation, but it also talks about what happens after the simulation. That's the so which, if modernity, or like, it's like the ancients seem to have more advanced minds. Now we're trying to artificially compensate for them. Idealism is the next one. In brackets, consciousness is the only true substance. Matter is a. Okay, I think this is closer. Core idea: the physical world is a representation within minds, or a universal mind with a capital M. Philosophers: George Berkeley, Bernardo Castro. I mean, these guys are kind of like, they were raised religious guys. Come on. Advanced take: the universe is like a dream within a larger mind. Yes, but it's just that the if you were to imagine a character right now in a world, and that character could notice you, it had to come to terms with how it could never be you. Because you understand, it's like we're wondering about what is truly hosting consciousness in a reality at all. And the host is the higher power for a reason. That means this world is being administered by a system intelligently, and its intelligence surpasses human comprehension, but man's can still go further. It says, advanced take. I read that. Support quantum observer effect, the mystery of qualia. Qualia is pretty much like what is thought. Implication: Without consciousness, the physical world collapses into abstraction. Oh, yeah, consciousness being a sort of of its a world information reception, I guess. It says implication without consciousness, the physical world. I read that. Then we go to six, non-dualism, Advaita Zenism. I live through the skies. I see further than it. I think I've the caterpillars become butterfly. And quotations. There's only one distinctions or illusions of perception. Core idea: subject and object, self and world, time and space are illusions caused by the mind. Traditions: Advaita, Vedanta, Buddhism, Sufism, Taoism. Direct experience attained through mediation, awakening, or ego dissolution. Modern bridge integrated with Neil Sam Harris, Thomas Metzinger. Implication that is unity, pure being, awareness, bliss. No way Sam Harris is saying that. If Sam Harris is saying that, then it's kind of like the dude is a great actor. It's like, no. I mean, I don't really know that much, so I can't really make a judgment. I'm being playful, but honestly, if everything is pure being, awareness, bliss, if everything is Satchit Ananda, then it's like it's like you're acting like God in a simulation. You're acting original in a simulation, but the how do I say it? It's not the original. Sincerity is key. At some point of sincerity, you're like, I don't know. Anyways, we go to the next one. Mathematical Platonism. Excuse me. In quotations, mathematics exists outside of space-time. Reality is structured by it. Core idea: mathematical truths are discovered, not invented. Advanced for Max Tegmark's mathematical universe hypothesis. The universe is a mathematical structure. Oh man. Implication: what's real is what's logically coherent in mathematics. Matter may be a shadow of math. Oh, guys, mathematical Platonism, it's like these guys are worshiping numbers, bro. Number worshippers. I didn't know even such a thing could exist. Number worshippers. They're like, hey man, we need to make an ethical decision here. They're like, look at the numbers. Okay, the next one is informational realism. It from bit. In quotations, information, not matter or energy, is the true building block of reality. Pioneers: John Archibald Wheeler, physicist; Claude Shannon. View: reality is generated from binary informational events. In quotations, yes, no. Questions at the core of everything. Advanced and theories of consciousness. Implication: existence is a vast computation, and matter emerges from patterns of information. Okay, this is fine, but it's I don't know if culture is holding back knowledge or it's the other way around, but I think it's culture. The expansion of knowledge is slowed down because of our lack of care for it. Anyways, here it says, I read everything actually. We go to the next one: participatory realism. In quotations, reality is co-created by consciousness interacting with possibility. Okay, I like this. Reality is by consciousness interacting with possibility. Consciousness interacting with possibility means in the about what can happen. So it means accessing the inner realms, being conscious of its inner realms and the outer realms, and how its inner realms can be ahead of its outer realms. So it's a relationship of a form with its own possibility. Sorry, not with its own possibility, its own potential. Anyways, I'm gonna keep reading it. Core idea: there is no observer dash independent reality. Reality in quotations comes into being through the act of interaction. Philosopher John Wheeler, in quotations, law with without law in quotations. Implication: you don't just witness reality, you shape it by being aware of it. Yeah, I mean, like, you can see it as if, like, the moment you wake up, your consciousness is rendering reality into structures of, familiar structures of meaning. But, anyways, we go to the next one. 10. Process philosophy. In quotations, Whitehead. In quotations, reality is not made of things, but of events, relations, and becoming. Core idea: everything is in flux. Reality is not static, but evolving moments of experience. Implication: even identity and objects are processes, not fixed entities. Modern parallel: matches physics and cognitive science views of emergent complexity. So, guys, check this out. It summarized all of them. Physicalism: core of reality is matter and energy. Leading fields is physics and neuroscience. Have the perspective of quantum ontology, probabilities. Excuse me. You have the perspective of quantum ontology, with its core of reality being probabilities and observation, and its field is quantum mechanics. Then, perspective of panpsychism, with the core of its reality being based at consciousness dash in dash all, consciousness in all, and its leading fields is philosophy of mind. Then you have the code and computation is the core of its reality, and you have metaphysics and mysticism as its leading fields. There we go. Dualism perspective, that the core of reality is a universal mind, and its leading fields are metaphysicism. You have non-dualism as a perspective, with its core of reality being pure awareness, and then its leading fields are Eastern philosophy, mysticism. You have mathematical Platonism, uh, mathematical truths being its core of reality, leading fields math, theoretical physics. Um, the perspective of information realism. Sorry, guys, I don't know why I'm reading it like this. The core of its reality is binary information. Pretty much its core reality is duality. Then you have its leading fields being information theory, CS. Then you have the perspective of participatory realism. Its core observer-driven reality is the core of its reality. Quantum foundations is its leading field. Process. You have the perspective of process philosophy, events. Its core of reality is events, becoming. And then you have leading fields being process theology, philosophy. Guys, honestly, like, I'm getting tired of this. There's all these different perspectives. So obviously, it's not that the perspective can be true. Everybody's like extracting their own meaning out of this unknown event. Anyways, it ultimately goes down to the future, I think, guys. There was so much more to read, but guys, I think I just want to take the lecture here, that we're wondering about how advanced our species can be before we die. And if we truly care, like, the idea is we go as far as we can so the future generations can go as far as they can. That's the whole point. It's now time to take responsibility as a member of your species. If Buckminster Fuller and Marshall McLuhan were here, they would tell you you're all crew members of Spaceship Earth. The prophets told us that you're all the creations of the divine, of the original, of the creator. It's all about directly going to the creator. For me, the original value that is guiding humans, attracting all consciousness, is that they know they're simulated and they're wondering about the original value of being. Anyways, thank you for listening. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, A'udhu billahi shaitanir rajim. May God protect us from the cursed one and unnecessary ignorance. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds, all simulated phenomena, all simulated conscious intelligence returns to the original power. God is the original power. The world is the simulated power. Rabbi Firli, excuse me, Rabbi Firli, my Lord, forgive me. My Lord, forgive my species and all your creation for all the sins that they are conscious and unconscious of. And advance us in your mercy. It's as if God created man. Like, think about it. There's only one part of the picture. God created man. Man is now being tested, or man is now positioned in a simulation. And now man is wondering, what do I do in the presence of the original? Because the most advanced civilization is a divine civilization. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. May God guide us to the direct path. May the most advanced guide us in the most advanced way to the most advanced. Thank you for listening.